these two teams at the tip-off, and the Hawkeyes with the opening possession. There's Chit-Chat Wright running the point, as I mentioned. The Hawkeyes looking for their third straight win, and Hayden gets the scoring started.
Well, Jan Jensen isn't wasting any time at going inside. And Kylan, we talked about this before the game. We've got our eyes circled on the matchup of the bigs. In fact, we called it Battle of the Bigs tonight.
Head coach Jan Jensen in her second year at the helm, and her Hawkeyes off to a pretty good start here. Just moments into this matchup on the road. Now this Hawkeyes team 2-1 on the road as Hannah Stolke is able to take it away from Sullivan. Right in transition, finds Hayden, too easy for the Hawkeyes.
And it was very subtle what Chit-Chat Wright did, but she slowed down just enough to give Ava Hayden a chance to catch up to her and make that 2-on-1 play.
Right, a really good decision maker, averaging about 3.5 assists per game coming into this one, and then Hayden finishing at a high clip. 65% shooting just about from the floor, as there's another turnover for the Wildcats. And there is the head coach, Jan Jensen, in her second year at the helm, of course. Spent multiple decades on the bench here as a part of Lisa Bluter's staff, who was the WBCA National Coach of the Year last year for a rookie coach, which is some high praise. Taking over a program that had been to back-to-back national titles, games, as Hayden makes it a strong start here for the Hawkeyes.
3 different buckets by Iowa, but all scored the same way, and that is on the left block, getting a post, whether in transition or in the quarter court.
Iowa off to a 6-0 start. Hayden accounting for all of those buckets, as Walton's able to get to the cup. Too strong, though. Wright showing off the handles, making her way down court. Stremlow in transition, can't get it to go. Here are the Wildcats pushing pace. Lau flying down the floor, finds Sullivan, who draws the foul. Be honored everywhere he's gone, and the Northwestern Wildcats are coming off a trip to the West Coast where they visited Oregon and Washington and Shimmy. It was really awesome to hear him tell us at shoot-around about how these other coaches in the Big Ten are really honoring all that he's accomplished in the women's game.
And what was amazing to me, Kylan, is he seemed surprised by that. You know, I feel like he should be honored everywhere he goes. He's deserving of those honors and accolades and attention.
As Wright tries the 3-ball. Going back to that point about the West Coast, however, Harder trying to keep it in play, ends up throwing it away. Another chance here for Iowa. Stremlow, nice fake. Able to get it over the top to Hayes, who quickly has come in the game here for the Hawkeyes. She can't get it to go. Harder with a look in transition, but steps out of play, so it's Hawkeye basketball.
Well, Casey Harder, she caught that ball with the intention of driving, and you can't do that. I know she's very aggressive. She wants to get to the rim. She has a high free throw rate, but you have to catch to shoot. That way, you're guaranteed to not travel because your feet are set.
For Northwestern, that's 4 turnovers here, just minutes into this game, as an offensive foul is called, as Hannah Stolke was trying to get to the cup.
And Hannah Stolke didn't need to do that, and that was a great job of isolating her on the right elbow for the rip. She prefers to right drive, but she didn't need that extra lower the shoulder and move Taylor Thomas out of the way. Just 2-foot jump stop, go right up off the glass.
Stolke's first foul, second for the team here in this first quarter, as Sullivan does what she does best in the mid-range. Shin.
I know she's a post player at 6'3", but she really scores most of her points, just like we saw in that mid-range. 8 points a game from mid-range jumpers.
One of the leading players in the country in terms of her production coming from the mid-range, as she tries to run the ball down at mid-court. It's out of play, Hawkeye basketball.
And that's old school. I mean, with today's analytics, Kylan, everything is either at the rim or 3. So that's kind of a throwback to have a post player who shoots the mid-range jumper.
And she's so good, too. Sullivan is at the fadeaway on 1 foot, little Dirk-esque. You'll often see her when she's able to put down some of those shots. Stolke puts it on the deck, but Thomas says no. Big defensive play there by the Cats big.
2 times now, Hannah Stolke has challenged Taylor Thomas. Once driving right, now driving left. This is what I want Hannah Stolke to do. I want her to continue to challenge the bigs off the face-up drive, but jump off 2 feet. 2 feet jump stops.
It was last touched by the Wildcats out of play, so Iowa gets another chance at it, but now it is going to be Northwestern basketball. A little chaos there as a foul was called on Layla Hayes. Her first, team is third here in the first quarter. So a little bit of a frenetic pace here, a couple turnovers for each team as the Hawkeyes have now added 2 just in the last minute or so. Thomas, though, really good with her interior defending, leads this team in blocks now with 23 after that last defensive possession. Try to get involved here offensively. Pat's working around to the outside. Harder has it taken away. It's the freshman, Addie Deal, with a defensive play up ahead to right. Little misconnection there. Hawkeyes regain possession. McCabe now going to slow it down and run the offense. Freshman duo with a little handoff, but Thomas says no again. 2 blocks in the last minute.
And Taylor Thomas is fired up. The sophomore taking charge, is blocking shots. But again, Addie Deal, I'm going to tell you the same thing I just told Hannah Stolke. Well, in my mind, I told Hannah Stolke, jump off 2 feet, please.
More than a 2.5-minute scoring drought for Iowa as a 3-ball rattles out for McCabe. Loud, once again pushing pace. Some good ball movement there. Walton gets it inside, but they're going to move it back out. Sullivan makes her money in the mid-range, and that's why.
So Caroline Lau is excellent in the pick and roll. In fact, she's the only Northwestern player who really excels in pick and roll action. So Iowa's going to have to figure that out. Whenever she's involved with the ball screen with Grace Sullivan is popping. You don't have to help off Lau.
Now a tie ball game after a 6-0 run in the last 2.5 minutes for Northwestern, charged entirely by Sullivan. As again, Stolke is denied and a jump ball is called. Jump ball will lead to a Wildcats basketball based on the possession arrow.
I love that Hannah Stolke went off 2 feet. That's how you need to challenge Taylor Thomas. Just finish high, give it high, leave it high off the glass, give it a chance to go in. But that's much better footwork by number 45.
Still, you saw Thomas get a hand on it again. She is such a strong presence inside.
Well, she's having a phenomenal sophomore year. Her improvement on both ends, you can attribute it to her conditioning, her renewed commitment to her conditioning in the offseason. She looks spectacular.
Thomas averaging more than 11 points, 8.5 boards per game, which leads this team and also is tied for first in the Big Ten. And then I mentioned the shot blocking as well. It's going to be interesting to see how this matchup shakes out with how much the Hawkeyes score in the paint to have her interior presence inside for the Wildcats. Lau, nice pass. Thomas going to try from 3, too strong. But the rebound just about taken away from Hayes. Walton gets it back to Harder. Out of play. Northwestern balls. The Hawkeyes did get a piece 0 for 7 and 0 points in the last 4 minutes. Thomas up off the glass.
And that was about as traditional back-to-basket post action as you can get.
Speaking of post action, Hayden now with 8 points.
And again, this was the very first play that they ran for Ava Hayden to start the game, a little cross-screen action to get her isolated on the right block.
Mentioned it coming into this matchup. These two teams led by post players in scoring. It's Stolke and Hayden for the Hawkeyes and Sullivan and Thomas for the Wildcats as Sullivan watches it rattle out.
Okay, so keep your eye on that matchup, Kylan. You put Journey Houston defending Grace Sullivan. She's going to give up some in inches, but she's quick and she's mobile. She's actually playing out of position. She's really a guard playing the 4 this year. I think that's going to be a much better matchup for Iowa to put a quicker, smaller, but quicker Journey Houston on Grace Sullivan.
Houston, the freshman guard out of Davenport, Iowa, standing at 5'11", as should be pointed out in terms of the size, but does have some of that quickness. However, 6 turnover this first quarter here for Iowa on that last possession. Lau can't get it to go, hiding the board. Scoring drought continues and 4 turnovers in the last 5 minutes here for the Hawkeyes. And there's a whistle for a foul on the ground.
Right now, all 3 Iowa bigs each have a foul, an early foul.
Yeah, 1 of 8 from the floor now are the Hawkeyes after Hayden checked in and made that 1 basket, but still some slow going here for Iowa in this recent stretch. Thomas was called for the foul there.
I'd go right back to Ava Hayden coming out of this out-of-bounds play.
As as I mentioned, it was on the floor, so it's going to be Northwestern now does not have another appeal, and they lose a timeout for losing the appeal as the call on the floor stands. No offensive foul called on Hayden. Hawkeyes ball under the basket. Deal into Hayden, spinning, great move, and she goes to the floor as well.
And there you go. I was hoping that Iowa would do that, isolate her again on that out-of-bounds play, because Northwestern hasn't shown that they can stop Ava Hayden on the low post yet.
Well, they haven't. Hayden is 5 for 5 with 10 points in the first quarter, Shim. Sullivan comes up short. Good board there by Thomas. Lau flips it across to Lash, who has just entered the game moments ago. Harder from beyond the arc. Rebound bouncing around. Hayden eventually gets it under control. Taylor Stremlow here running the offense, but there's a whistle for the ball out of play here on the near side. It's Wildcats basketball.
You don't see the double dribble call too often?
No. Both teams with quite a few turnovers here. 5 each in this first quarter. Lash, the transfer, coming in after 5 seasons at Furman. Tons of collegiate basketball experience. This team has high expectations for her as Walton dials it up from deep.
So
Stremlow.
A lot has been made of Northwestern's zone, but you see Iowa in a zone, and they were working on that today in shoot around. I mean, this is a Northwestern team that they don't shoot a lot of threes.
Hayden finally misses, first miss here of this game. 5 of 6 now from the floor, but it's a second opportunity here for the Hawkeyes. Rebounding also going to be important. Right in the paint, no. Wildcats pushing pace again. They'll slow it down here and run a set.
And Iowa's back in their zone defense.
Thomas. Sullivan trying to get the rebound under control. Out of play for Iowa basketball.
So Iowa got lucky on that last defensive set, and Jan Jensen is pretty upset with her team right now. Chit-Chat Wright came all the way out, which you don't need to do against a non-3-point shooting team, and by her coming all the way out, and she extended the zone, which allowed Taylor Thomas to get wide open at the nail for that jumper.
It's interesting because under Lisa Bluter, Iowa was known for playing a lot of man. Is that something you've seen shift here as Jan Jensen has taken over?
Well, Jan Jensen, immediately, the first thing I noticed about her in this Jan Jensen era of Iowa Hawkeye basketball is her intentionality defensively. I've seen them do a lot of different things, whether it's press, play more zone than usual, do some trapping, some more aggressive man-to-man principles. She wants to be known as more than just an offensive coach.
Hayden gets the roll. 12 points now for the sophomore.
And by Ava Hayden isolating in the post, getting pinned down screens, she's posting up in the middle, so it's hard to double team that way.
Northwestern trying to get that zone to shift. Here comes Lau on the drive, throws it away. Houston working through some contact, and a foul is called as Walton goes to ground.
So Ava Hayden's first couple baskets came off cross screens, so she's on a low block, which is more susceptible to being double teamed. But here, when she's able to come off a pin down screen and post up in the middle of the paint, now where's the double going to come from? It's not. I'm just going to answer my own question. It's not.
I wasn't sure if it was rhetorical.
So that's just a great job, great play, great action, and then she's just able to turn right over her shoulder and finish up over the rim.
If you missed it on the bottom left side of your screen there, Ava Hayden's outscoring the entire Northwestern team, and the only player who's scored so far for the Hawkeyes as she charges through Grace Sullivan, and there is a foul called. It's an offensive foul on Hayden, so Sullivan successfully draws the charge.
And immediately Layla Hayes is going to check in, and that's unfortunate for Iowa because Ava Hayden, like you said, has outscored Northwestern's entire team. Well, we probably won't see her maybe even for the rest of the half.
Yep. Northwestern now in the bonus as well, and that's the second foul on Hayden, which is why you saw her quickly exit. But a 25-second difference here between the game clock and shot clock. Running out of time here with the Wildcats, but a travel is called.
And Northwestern is really struggling against this zone defense. And here I had all these great fancy notes about Northwestern's defense and how Iowa was going to counter that. Just flip-flop that.
About a 7-second difference here, game clock, shot clock before the end of the first quarter. Iowa going to run off as much time as possible. Walton applying quite a bit of pressure here to right. The freshman Layla Hayes now playing the center with Hayden out due to some foul trouble. 3 to shoot, right running out of time, and she draws the foul. Foul called on Lau. 13th foul here in this first quarter.
And I'm keeping my eye on this Layla Hayes, Grace Sullivan matchup. Those two are being really chippy, very handsy with one another. And the former post coach in me likes it. I like it a lot.
I like it a lot. The freshman Layla Hayes, though, is really having a good first year with this Hawkeyes program, averaging just about 7 points, 3.5 boards per game. Has been getting some time playing behind Ava Hayden at the center position. Native of Alaska, coming over to join the Hawkeyes, and a player that Coach Jensen is very excited about as a former post coach who still likes to get a little bit involved. Four to shoot here before the end of the first quarter. Entry pass into Sullivan leads to a foul called. It's going to be an opportunity at the free throw line due to Northwestern being in the bonus, and that's the freshman Layla Hayes, who's now been called for 2 fouls, forcing Stolke to check back in. So some early foul trouble for 2 of Iowa's bigs here at the end of the first. What do you make of that, Chip?
Well, I mean, when I saw that all 3 of the true bigs had 1 foul apiece, I was a little concerned about that.
Yeah.
But here's the benefit to Iowa is you can play 2 post players together, or you can go 4 guards and 1 big and try and save the post players, save the fouls. So I wouldn't be too concerned. Not yet.
Talk more about that in the second quarter. Last shot here, Stolke heaves it up, and it was awfully close.
Of a level of belief that she can come at this level and make an impact as a transfer from Bucknell. And with Taylor Thomas, the improvement really came with her renewed commitment to her conditioning and her physical fitness, and you see how it's paying off. She's one of the top rebounders in the Big Ten with increased minutes.
Sullivan told us earlier today, coming here to Northwestern, transferring from Bucknell, as there is Tangela, who, by the way, is a former Hawkeye, was a 2-time All-Big Ten player for Iowa, now on Joe McEwen's coaching staff here in Evanston. But going back to Sullivan, she said that coming here to Northwestern, they've given her the green light and more freedom to play her game and play to her strengths, as Lau knocks down a corner tray. And that's made all the difference for Sullivan, though.
Well, Grace Sullivan is one of those rare players in this transfer era who dominated at the mid-major level and then came to the Power Forward level and her numbers actually increased. Usually it's the opposite.
Sullivan, by the way, is the Big Ten scoring leader with 23 points per game. Just to put an exclamation point on your point, Shim. There's a foul called as Stolke is trying to put it up and in.
And that's an advantage. I know that Taylor Thomas has blocked a couple of Iowa shots early, particularly Hannah Stolke was one of them. But that's an advantage that Hannah Stolke has over Taylor Thomas, is she's able to face up, she's more mobile, and she is able to beat her off the dribble. She just has had to improve the finishing, which you just saw that she just did when she goes up strong, straight up and down. Instead of getting blocked, she's drawing fouls.
Thomas just committed her second foul, first team foul here in the second quarter, but that means she is going to check out, and the graduate student forward, Deja Turner, is going to check in, the TCU transfer, getting some second quarter minutes here due to some foul trouble.
And she's really improving as the season has gone on, and she's getting used to Joe McEwen's system, but she's a totally different type of post player than Taylor Thomas. She's more athletic, she's more active, she's more of like a blue-collar hustle type player.
Interesting, she's kind of being guarded, I should say, by Stremlow, who's over there on that side of the zone. So maybe you can exploit that mismatch in terms of the size.
You're not going to get a lot of points from Deja Turner, but what you are going to get is production, just in other ways.
3-point lead here for Iowa as another empty possession there for Northwestern. Right, so crafty Comes up short though. Ball bouncing around, Cats come up with it. Harder with nowhere to go, gets it back to Lau. Clark Keswick into the game, three-point shooter for the Wildcats. Turnaround too strong. Stremlow pushing pace. Double dribbles there, unfortunately. We saw her kind of lose the handle momentarily.
Yeah, so I think they actually called a carry.
A carry, rather,
so
yes,
now,
thank you.
Now Taylor Stremlow has just gotten a carry.
Yeah.
To go along with her double dribble.
With the double dribble,
Those
yes, that already happened.
Literally two calls that I haven't seen in a long time.
Yes. Well, like I said, you kind of saw the handle, so where the hand goes down and all the way over, yeah. Just a kind of freak thing here in the early going, but that's not a freak thing. That's an everyday thing. Grace Sullivan, automatic. 1 point game here. Northwestern with a good start here in the second quarter. Houston on the drive, trying to work on Sullivan. Can't get it to go. Lau flying forward. Right, though, with some pesky defending. Harder, another player who this Northwestern team wants to see continue to step up. The 5'11" junior guard, averaging 9.5 points per game, and a kicked ball is called as Keswick was trying to get the entry pass.
And she's capable. Casey Harder is more than capable of being a double-digit scorer because she's so athletic and she does such a great job of getting to the free throw line.
She's a good shooter, more than 36.5% from beyond the arc as a shot beyond the arc goes out for Keswick. Stremlow, another easy two in transition for the Hawkeyes.
That's just miscommunication. No one got back. You have to pick up the ball, but then your other priority has to be protecting your house.
Yeah, you knew transition defense was going to be big in this one. As you pointed out, the Hawkeyes really want to push pace, and there's the shooting from Harder we just talked about. Timeout called by Iowa head coach Jan Jensen as she'll look to hoops. Right now we're trying to keep up with Iowa Northwestern, trading baskets all tied up at 17 apiece here midway through the second quarter. Northwestern looking good though in this second frame, been able to close the gap after they were down 4-5 in the early going of this quarter. 7 on the shot clock. Stuckey. Tough angle and it just rattles out.
But it was great footwork. I know you saw her rip through, but then finish off 2 feet.
Stuckey coming off a big game, 21 points, 7 of 11 from the floor, 11 boards against Nebraska. Her third double-double this season, trying to bottle up some of that momentum. Heading into this one, Coach Jensen wanting Stuckey to be aggressive. There's a scramble for the ball on the floor, a loose ball. Cats seemingly come away with it, but Turner flies to the ground. Some chaos, and the Wildcats can't make the most of it.
But you see the kind of impact that Deja Turner can make in a game.
Yeah, really high motor, you can already tell, and just plays really hard. However, it's Sullivan out in the passing lane. The steal and the score for the Northwestern big.
Grace Sullivan is a true 4, and at the next level, whatever level that is, whether it's the W or overseas, she's going to play that 4 position, and you see why. She has that ability to get into passing lanes.
Here they come again. Lau this time, cashing in. Northwestern with a 4-point lead.
This is really uncharacteristic of Northwestern. I mean, they are turning defense into offense.
McCabe takes some contact from Lau, and it's a 3-pointer plus an opportunity at the charity stripe.
I mean, Taylor McCabe, she needed this to get going. She's shooting about 75% of her threes are above the bake threes like that, but Northwestern, they only average 9 points a game in fast break. They already have 6. So what they're doing now is very uncharacteristic. They are creating offensive opportunities from their defense, and it's working. I love it. Keep going. Keep doing it.
Lau, though, called for her second team foul here in the second quarter for Northwestern. So that leads to Lau checking out and Tate Lash coming back in, the Furman transfer. I mentioned their experience, a 5'9" guard, Georgia native. Now into the game with the ball in her hands, trying to run this offense. around the zone. Sullivan with her signature fadeaway.
I knew that as soon as she flashed and caught the ball in the middle of the paint, what move she was going to do. And so Journey Houston needs to close out. As soon as Grace Sullivan turns, she has to close out and get up underneath her.
Sullivan leading the way with 13 points now, 5 of 7 from the floor. Stokey spinning. Board brought in by Journey Houston. And it's a third chance here for the Hawkeyes. Deal. McCabe finds Houston wide open, and one opportunity.
And this is how Iowa can regain control of this game, is through their offensive rebounding. They're one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the league. They're getting about 39% of their available offensive rebounds. You just saw a few in that last possession.
Lash was just called for her first foul, 14th foul here on Northwestern. Keep an eye on the Hawkeyes potentially getting into the bonus territory. Walton here back out to Herder. Sullivan on the freshman. Rebound brought in by another freshman in Deal. Ball batted away. Another turnover forced by the Wildcats defense. Lash cutting into the lane, can't get the roll. Stokey flies in for the board and is fouled by Turner.
So Journey Houston for Iowa, she's exhausted right now. You know, she is tasked with guarding the Big Ten's leading scorer, and for the most part, in her minutes, she's done a really good job, but you could just see she's getting worn out. She only averages 14 minutes a game. She's already all close to that.
Turner gets called for her first foul, so keep an eye on these Wildcat bigs because Thomas has 2 fouls, which has led to her exiting. And then on the other side, it's Hayden with 2 fouls and Hayes with 2 fouls as well for the Hawkeyes, which is why they've both been out during the second quarter. So a couple different players on both sides in foul trouble, and then it's Lau with 2 fouls as well for the Cats in the backcourt. Turner rather, 2 teammates getting the 2.
Taylor McCabe was just a little late coming over from help side.
2-point lead here for the Wildcats, 3 to go before the halftime break. Quite a bit of momentum as some of the key Hawkeyes have had to spend time on the bench. Another miss there. Walton, the sophomore guard, Chicago native, running the offense here, gets it back into Sullivan, who continues her hot streak. 15 points for Grace Sullivan.
I like the Journey Houston-Grace Sullivan matchup earlier, but now that Journey Houston has played more minutes than she's used to, she's fatigued. But let's take a look at Northwestern, because right now they're getting whatever they want offensively. In this possession right here, Taylor McCabe comes over just a little bit late to deter that Turner layup. But Grace Sullivan, she's more than just a face-up jump shooter or the Dirk Nowitzki move that you talked about, Kylan. That's a nice little jump hook. When I say she's old school and a throwback, I mean that in the best way possible.
I like it. I like the throwbacks. However, we got to note that Northwestern now has 5 team fouls. I mentioned the Hawkeyes were approaching bonus, so that leads to Taylor McCabe going to the free throw line. Walton was just called for the foul. That's going to be her second foul, so 3 Northwestern players now with 2 fouls, and Walton, Lau, and Thomas. 2-point deficit here for the Hawkeyes. McCabe, Stokey with the offensive board, fighting through multiple players on her, has it taken away. Carter. The fans did not like all of that contact and no call. A lot of gold and black here inside of Welsh Ryan Arena. Lots of Hawkeyes fans in attendance.
Yeah, I know. I almost felt like we were in Carver Hawkeye the way that they were.
Great crowd, great energy here though on a Monday night. 4 to shoot. Lash can't come up with anything. Hawkeyes defense forces the turnover. Stremlow opts to slow it down this time. McCabe, and there is a foul called on the ground. Which also means, though, shots at the charity stripe as once again Iowa is in the bonus.
It looks like Hannah Stolke's bleeding. And I think that's what everyone in here was so upset about.
Yeah.
I believe the contact occurred on her last offensive rebound. She had a swarm of Northwestern defenders around her, and I think someone inadvertently caught her on the eye, on the cheek.
Coach Jensen having some words with Bruce Morris, one of the officials, clearly asking for something along those lines, like, hey, she's just motioning towards Stolke, as Stolke is now getting help from members of the training staff, just trying to stop the bleeding there under her eye. Now, Deja Turner, the forward for Northwestern, just got called for her second foul. So again, we've seen quite a few bigs on both sides with a couple fouls here in the first half.
Yeah, it was a lot of contact. I would agree with Carver Hawkeye Chicago.
The Chicago branch.
If that's what we're going to call it. I would agree with that. There was a lot of contact that was missed on that last play, but if Northwestern has a chance at beating this ranked team, they're going to have to be physical. They're going to have to jam up the rebounders. And Iowa, they might not get every call they want, so they're going to have to play through it.
Stolke just misses the first free throw, shooting just over 55.5% from the free throw line this season, sinks the second, making this a one-point game. Walton. Sullivan hands off to Lash in the mid-range. 3-point lead here for the Cats. Closing in on the halftime break. Great first half here for Northwestern. Stremlow. Working on Lash. Stremlow sinks a tough shot. 1-point game again. About 18-second difference here. Game clock, shot clock, and a foul is called right in front of the Iowa bench.
Excellent job by Chit Chat Wright of blowing up that action and then creating the foul. This is just a really good read on her part. This is why I think she's an elite defender, because of her ability to get skinny and blow up handoffs. It's just a great job. She is really hard to set screens on. She's an elite defender because she's able to get over the top of screens or get through screens like you just saw.
All right, also really gaining some comfortability since transferring in from Georgia Tech, joining this Hawkeyes program, having to take over, running this offense, which of course there's going to be a transition period, but really coming into her own in the comfortability, at least from that standpoint. 24 points last game against Nebraska. I mentioned it earlier in the broadcast, averaging 3.5 assists. I just feel like these last couple of games, you really felt like she's come into her own in terms of her identity and role with this team, even though I know, Shimmy, they told us at shoot-around, they still want more from her. They want her to be more aggressive.
She sees herself as that, an elite defender, and as a facilitator, someone, you know, that, hey, I can be the third or fourth option if needed. And meanwhile, Jan Jensen said, we didn't bring you here from Georgia Tech to be our third, fourth, or fifth option. We brought you here to be a primary scoring threat.
And she looked pretty good in that regard, as she now is at the free throw line, averaging more than 13 points per game, but coming off of 3 straight games with 16 or more points scored, and has done that in 4 of the last 5. Another foul issue, though, here is Tate Lash now has 2 fouls for Northwestern. So they do have 5 players with 2 fouls in this first half. Lash still winning a point here for the Cats. 7-second difference here, game clock, shot clock. She gets caught up. 9 to shoot. And Grace Sullivan traveled.
She did. And Bruce Morris, the official, was all over it.
Shot clock off now, with the Hawkeyes having the opportunity to extend this lead with potentially the final possession of this first half.
They need to take the final shot.
Right. Guarded by Walton. Gets the switch. into Stolke. Beautifully done. But
a traditional back-to-basket post player, so that makes that 60% even more impressive because she's such an excellent mid-range jump shooter.
Two of the three most efficient players in the Big Ten are playing in this game today, and Ava Hayden is Grace Sullivan as we keep hyping up the front court matchup. Third quarter now underway. Hawkeyes with a 3-point lead. Wildcats looking for the answer. Lau's three is offline. It's out of play, and it will stay here. Neither team having a particularly good shooting night from the outside. Iowa just 1 of 5 from deep. Northwestern 2 of 9. Jemiah Walton back in to run the point. Ava Hayden, after spending the second quarter on the bench, back in. Got into some early foul trouble after getting off to a hot start shooting-wise, as the Hawkeyes, Taylor McCabe reels in the board, and now she brings the ball up.
Hannah Stolke defended that really well. Grace Sullivan tried to create a little bit of separation, but Hannah Stolke closed that gap. I like the link right now of Hannah versus Grace.
Stolke into Hayden. Hayden working on Sullivan. 7 to shoot. Wildcats defense takes it away. Lau flying forward. Walton denied. Wow. McCabe.
I thought McCabe was a shooter. I didn't know that shooters were supposed to also be elite shot blockers.
I'm sorry, McCabe. I did not recognize your game.
I was
Is that a meme or something?
Game.
A GIF? Yeah, I was unaware of your game. Shoot. I didn't even get the GIF right.
I got you.
Keeping me young here, Shin. Thank you. McCabe on the offensive end. No. Looked good, though. Lau again pushing pace harder. Gets to the cup. Casey Harder, aggressive early in this third quarter.
Well, that's that athleticism of Casey Harder on full display.
Oh, but how about the three-point answer? Chit Chat right. Has something to say about it.
I see what you did there. But that's exactly why Jan Jensen wants her calling her own number, because she's more than capable of filling it up.
Right, with a fairly quiet first half by her standards, 6 points. As that ball's out of play, Thomas was just trying to get it up.
Taylor McCabe says, hey, do not put me in that shooter-only box. I am so much more than that. I also have impeccable timing and can block shots.
Just her 4th block of the year. But an emphatic one at that. Walton with 5 on the shot clock, and a foul is called.
How about the much smaller Jemiah Walton challenging the bigs in the paint? Especially after getting her shot blocked on the possession before. I love the fearlessness that the Fighting Joe McEwens are playing with tonight.
Stolke called for her 2nd foul, the first team foul here in this 3rd quarter, sending Jemiah Walton to the free throw line. Covering this team throughout the non-conference slate, or leading into this, it does mean something, and it should be said that this Wildcats team cares about sending off Joe McEwen on the right foot. I know we talked briefly in the first quarter just about the coaches in this conference. He mentioned on the West Coast swing, Kelly Graves, Tina Langley for Washington and Oregon, giving him gifts as he came and his Northwestern team came to play their teams. But it's also the players. It means a lot to really send off his legacy in the right way.
Well, he had an opportunity to go back to George Washington, where he had so much success in the A-10, and how special it was. They honored him, but the night before the game, they had a reception, a surprise reception that he was unaware of. Said about 200 people showed up, former players from many decades ago.
Really cool. Word on the street is that Joe McEwen actually got emotional at that. Now, when I spoke to him at Media Day, he said there's not going to be any crying this season, but...
What? Well, that ain't what I heard.
Rumor has it was an emotional day, but how cool to see the former players of Joe McEwen now, you know, showing up at George Washington. Like I said, the recognition around the conference, it's really well deserved, and the Big Ten has been really lucky to have such a high-level coach, both in the basketball knowledge and in the tactical side of things, but also just developing young women. I know that's something that's really important to him, and getting to spend some time with Grace Sullivan and Casey Harder. As Sullivan draws the foul on Hayes, they both told me that he's one of a kind in terms of how much he cares about the players. They told me he'll pull you aside during warm-ups at practice just to ask how your day is going. Ask how school's going. You don't always see coaches care that much about who their players are off the floor, and that's one thing that makes him so special.
two of the best when it comes to the compassion and the EQ department. Two of the best head coaches in the game right here.
Yeah, we got a great story on Jan Jensen from her shooter, Taylor McCabe, that we got to get into here at some point tonight, but it needs to be noted that Hayes was just called for her third foul, so that's big here for the Iowa Hawkeyes. In the prior possession, Ava Hayden was just called for her third foul. So the bigs in foul trouble has been a huge theme here in Evanston for this Hawkeyes team.
So you see Addie Deal is at the scores table for Iowa right now, so that'll be an interesting lineup if Layla Hayes comes out. It's a true four-guard lineup for Iowa, with Hannah Stolke playing the 5, if that's what Jan is going to do.
Stolke, speaking of, just drew the foul. Grace Sullivan committed it. Her first foul and the team's first. Hannah Stolke, though, pretty comfortable when it comes to playing that small ball 5. It's something we've seen her do the last couple years. Last year, the Hawkeyes had Addie O'Grady at the center sometimes, but they also opted to go small quite often to really push pace.
Well, it looks like Addie Deal came in for Taylor Strimlow, so Layla Hayes will stay in with those fouls, and so they're going to stick with the two-post lineup.
Deal knocks down harder and then knocks down the shot. 2-point lead here for the Hawkeyes. Deal with her second made basket. Time running out here for the Wildcats. With 8 on the shot clock, Walton. Sullivan with the O-board. Sullivan with the putback. Tie ball game in the third quarter. Ooh, Thomas with some really hard contact on Hannah Stolke. Thomas called for her third foul.
And this is a teaching moment for Taylor Thomas. She's still very young. She's only a sophomore, did play a lot last year. And she was trying to jump the passing lane, and I think her eyes were bigger than her stomach. She was seeing steal and layup. There's no need to be that aggressive that far from the rim.
It has been evident, though, that this Northwestern defense wants to be aggressive in this game. They average just under 6 steals per game. They already have 8 here in this third quarter. Or 8 on the game through where we're at in this third quarter, I should say. Stolke on the dribble. Sullivan comes away with it. Lau gets it out to Walton. Couldn't get anything in transition, they'll reset. Sullivan with a deep 2 rattles out.
I am always surprised when she actually misses a shot. Even her misses look pretty.
7 of 12, as we mentioned, very efficient, not just in this game, but on the season, as Hayes gets caught up there being guarded by Sullivan. But Sullivan, though, shooting more than 60% from the floor. Stolke trying to get her own miss. Goes out of play. It will stay here.
Hannah Stolke had excellent position. She had deep position. She had Grace Sullivan on her back. She just tried to make the play of just turning over her left shoulder and just has to leave it a little bit higher, give the ball a chance to go in.
Stolke just 1 of 7 in this game. Quite unusual for her. Another player who's typically very efficient, 56% shooter on the season from the field.
Especially against Northwestern. She's averaging about 20 points, 65% shooting against the Wildcats.
Absolutely, 20 points per game. Lau trying to connect with Sullivan. Harder, wide open from beyond the arc. However, the Cats with another opportunity. Harder tries it a second time, and she doesn't miss this time, folks. Cats take a 3-point lead.
And that is a sniper 3. Those are the best kind of threes to get, the ones off of offensive rebounds. No one is expecting it. You're usually uncontested.
Harder now with 8 points, 4 boards, 2 assists. So we talked about her productivity and need to be aggressive for this Wildcats team to be successful. Momentum shifting here in favor of the Cats. McCabe into the paint. Stolke puts it up for 2. Second made basket for Stolke is 3 of 4 from the free throw line. And meanwhile, there's a foul called. If it's on Hayes, it will be her 4th. That's what we've been missing on this broadcast, because let me tell you, she has the moves. By the way, Layla Hayes did get called for her 4th foul just before that last break. Speaking of fouls, Turner just called for the foul there for the Wildcats. So we've got kind of fouls galore here at Welsh Ryan Arena. So Hayes back out, Ava Hayden back in. Hayes in some foul trouble. Won't see her here for a bit. And 3 fouls there for Turner. Meanwhile, there is a 5-second violation because you just saw Addie Deal get caught up with the basketball.
And so the initial defense on Addie Deal was awesome, stopped her from getting to the rim, but it's the help, the support of all of Caroline Lau's teammates of just shutting down all the passing lanes. That was spectacular.
Really good team defense here, Shimmy, from Northwestern, and that's what you identified going into this would be a key for them to possibly win this game, as there's an unfortunate call for Walton, a turnover there on that far sideline, just stepping out of play.
I would love to see Taylor McCabe get going here, running her off of a screen, a pin down, staggers, something to get her going and alleviate some of that pressure in the paint.
Deal caught up again. This time gets it out to Hayden. Turner gets called for the foul there. Turner's 4th foul. Also the 4th team foul in this 3rd quarter.
And so I've heard comparisons of Ava Hayden to former great Iowa post players like Monica Sonano or even Megan Gustafson, but this is where I think she's different than post players of the past in the Jan Jensen or Lisa Bluter era. Is she can face up and drive, and that's something that those other post players weren't able to do.
Big made basket there for the Hawkeyes, retaking the lead. Stremlow with the bucket. Thomas has it taken away. Hayden with the steal.
And that's that Ava Hayden athleticism that I was just alluding to.
Right, exactly. It impacts her abilities in the defensive end as well. However, the Hawkeyes on the verge of another turnover. 17 turnovers for Iowa in this game. If that shot rattles out, Hayden tried to run down the rebounds. Lau pushing pace again. Sullivan off the glass.
Grace Sullivan was just so smooth and in control on that. A lesser player, that ball would have gone out of bounds.
Sullivan now has 21 points. That marks her 11th game this season with 20 or more.
This is just a great job of her making the game slow down for her. She didn't allow the defense, Hannah Stokey in that case, to speed her up, create a turnover. Instead, she was able to just slow it down, catch the ball, and then with a little bit of pace and precision, put it in the bucket.
Carter was just called for the foul there. That's her first. Both teams now in the bonus here for the last 2:25 of this 3rd quarter. Stremlow comes up short.
And that's one area where I think Iowa can really improve and should improve before March is their free throw accuracy. They're only shooting 67%. They're leaving a lot of points on the board.
Sullivan. Thomas fighting for the rebounds. Houston goes to ground as well, trying to reel it in. Jump ball is called. That will send it the other way.
That Journey Houston, no one has told her she's only 5'11". She will get in there and battle with the bigs like no other. In fact, the last 5 games, her offensive rebounding rate has been almost 20%.
Yeah, and she also plays, I don't know, she looks to me like she plays more mature than a freshman, maybe just in terms of the tenacity. She does not appear to fear contact, that's for sure. Speaking of, right on cue, Journey Houston with the and one. It's the reverse broadcaster's jinx.
She just made us look brilliant, the way she just crashed the offensive glass. The last 5 games, almost half of her points have come off second chance opportunities.
Sullivan called for her second foul there. Houston making an impact here off the bench. 5 points, 3 boards. Stremlow just called for the foul though, so some back and forth here at the charity stripe for these two teams, both in the bonus. Stremlo's first foul. 2 free throws coming for Taylor Thomas. Thomas shoots under 59% from the free throw line on the season, but makes the first. And here's the thing, in tight games like this, free throws are so important, especially with kind of the tight whistles in this game, the amount of fouling and free throw opportunities that we've seen. Timeout called here by Joe McEwen. Northwestern ties it up.
It is
Like,
wild, wild Welsh Ryan.
Wild,
and you will
wild
not
Welsh
get me in a cowboy hat, not over these curls.
That was worth a shot, you know. The spirit. Meanwhile, we've got a great game on our hands here. Under 2 minutes to go in this third quarter. Tie ball game. Northwestern and Iowa laying it all on the line. Grace Sullivan, though, called for a foul, and fouling definitely has been a theme here for both of these teams. Sullivan just called for her third. And Coach McEwen has mentioned in moments either this season, for example, against Loyola Chicago, she got hurt, or when she goes out with foul trouble, this is a Wildcats team that really struggles to get their offense going. So they've got to keep her on the floor.
They are a totally different team when Grace Sullivan is not playing. That was evident at George Washington. She didn't play that game. Loyola went down early. Those were 2 bad losses for Northwestern, arguably really the only bad losses on their schedule. But both were played basically without Grace Sullivan.
Hayden just scored her first basket since 1:23 to go in the first quarter. At least her first points as she was at the free throw line. Now's 3 rolls out. So Hayden, as a travel is called. The turnovers are also mounting here for both of these teams, Shimmy.
Well, right now, Northwestern is completely in control of this game, even though they're only down 2. They are in control of this game. Iowa only has 24 paint points. They average 42. Iowa only has 5 second chance points. They average 14. So Northwestern's taking away Iowa's strengths.
Iowa also has turned the ball over 18 times, which is a credit to Northwestern's defense. Iowa with the pace can be a little bit loose with the basketball, but that's well beyond their season average of about 15.
Well, and those 18 turnovers have created 17 points for Northwestern. To put that into perspective, Kylan, Northwestern only averages 12 points a game off opponents' turnovers.
Hayden back in the game and making an impact.
She did all her work early, so all she had to do was turn, score, very efficient, no dribble necessary. 16
points for Hayden. Now a 5-second difference between the game clock and shot clock at the end of the third. Thomas bodying up Hayden and is called for the travel. 15th turnover for the Wildcats.
Ava Hayden scores about 90% of her points without dribbling because she does an excellent job of pushing the defender underneath the basket, doing all her work early, so all she has to do is turn and score.
90%?
91%.
91%. Wow, without dribbling. 2 to shoot here, though. Running out of time is Hayden. Did she get it off in time? Hayden puts it up and in.
Game. Iowa, they're not able to get out and run. They have 7 fast break points at this point.
By the way, on that last graphic, you saw all the numbers to the left of the Big Ten teams. 9 teams ranked in the latest AP poll that just came out today, with a 10th team receiving votes. Really impressive stuff from the best women's basketball conference in the country. I'm just going to say it.
You've got a cosigner right here, Kylan.
That's all I need.
So come at us.
Stolke, meanwhile, thought about going at Grace Sullivan, ends up sending it back out. 6-point lead for the Hawkeyes. 9 on the shot clock. And a foul is called. Taylor Thomas can't believe it. Once again, Chip trying to jump the passing lane on the entry pass into Hayden. That will be her 4th foul.
Okay, and so this is like the old ball coach giving young post players kind of like a secret of the trade here. She made that call too obvious to make because she's standing too upright. She's got to bend her knees and get around with her feet. Play defense with your feet as a post player. Now you're armed.
4 fouls now on Thomas, 4 on Turner for the Wildcats front court. 3 on Sullivan. Something to keep an eye on here in this final frame. Northwestern some foul trouble here in the late going as there's a whistle on the other side. Strello. It looks like that called for the foul, which will be her second.
And I think that was a good call.
Okay.
I think as a coach, all you want is consistency with the calls. So if you're going to call it tight, then call it tight. If you're going to let them play, then let them play. But just be consistent throughout the game.
One foul apiece now for each team early in this fourth quarter. Keswick almost missed that connection with Harder. 7 to shoot. Running out of time here. Lau puts it on the deck. Big pass across to Keswick, who comes up short. Sullivan cleans it up, though. Big bucket for the Cats.
It's just right place at the right time for Keswick. Or for Sullivan, excuse me.
Right at the right place at the right time. I like that I did that. Pat myself on the back for that one. I'll break my arm, patting myself on the back here. 6-point lead once again for the Hawkeyes. Flash finds Harder in the corner, who lets it fly, hiding the rebound.
But here in a strange twist of events, Kylan, it's been Iowa that has played the majority of this game in a zone defense, and Northwestern has played the majority in man-to-man.
Harder gets called for the foul, basically climbing on top of Hannah Stolke, trying to get the basketball. Stolke's been knocked around quite a bit in this game. Harder second and the team second here for the Cats, and there's the cut on Hannah Stolke's face that she suffered early in this game. Hawkeyes ball into the basket. What a move from the cave, and count it!
She created that all by herself. That was excellent footwork by Taylor McCabe.
9 points, the largest lead for the Hawkeyes. And it comes at the most opportune time in the fourth quarter. Harder, looking for the three-point answer. Northwestern will get a second chance here. Chance breaking out as well. Really lively crowd, great energy here at Welsh Ryan on a Monday night. Sullivan draws the foul. A mix of let's go Cats and let's go Hawks, I think, from the crowd there, Shimmy.
Well, Taylor McCabe really needed to see a three-pointer go down. She's been struggling as of late with her three, but this is just a good job with the shot fake, sidestepping Keswick, and then getting that shot off. Her feet were set. That's just excellent footwork by the engineering student. Do you think that she uses her engineering skills with her three-point shooting, like as far as like angles or footwork? And
she's got it, you would assume. 2 of 6 from the three-point line today, but an elite three-point shooter, more than 40% from beyond the arc. Ava Hayden was just called for that foul, though, and that's going to be her fourth. So again, foul issues for both front courts now for the Hawkeyes and for the Wildcats. Layla Hayes, the other big for the Hawkeyes, also with 4 fouls. Then Thomas and Turner for the Wildcats with 4 fouls. Definitely make things interesting here down the stretch.
Well, if anything, what I hope that this game does for Joe McEwen and his staff is give them confidence that his team does not have to rely on playing zone in order to win games, because their man-to-man defense has been very aggressive. They've done an excellent job of shutting down the driving lanes. They look good in this man defense.
Houston back in the game as the Hawkeyes now have a smaller lineup out on the floor. Callie Levine also into the game as well. The sophomore guard seeing more playing time here as of late. Hawkeyes got to get it off. 5 to shoot. Stolke can't get the bounce. Lau again flying up the floor. Northwestern also has been really pushing pace. Sullivan.
So far, the length of Hannah Stolke has bothered Grace Sullivan more than any other Iowa defender.
Sullivan still with 24 points, 5 rebounds, a 9 of 18 shooting from the floor. Houston's footwork cannot get the roll.
That's a tough angle when you're trying to score right at the front of the rim. Post players like to have the glass, like to use the glass.
Lau's 3 misses everything. Flash trying to bring in the rebounds. Iowa basketball.
And that's probably a possession that Caroline Lau would like to have back. I thought she took that 3 a little bit early in the shot clock.
Nearly a 2.5-minute scoring drought for Northwestern, down by 8. Stolke working on Sullivan. Second chance here, and Wright is fouled. All kind of bobbled around before the Hawkeyes ended up with it. Carter gets called for her 3rd foul.
I can't say enough about Northwestern's paint defense. Everything is contested in the paint. They're doing a great job of walling up.
McCabe. Stolke will go to the line.
How about the closeout speed of Grace Sullivan to contest that McCabe 3?
Yeah, that was great. Got a piece of it for sure.
It's just a really good job. Iowa runs a lot of out-of-bounds plays for McCabe, and Grace Sullivan sniffed that out. And she's just had excellent closeout speed to get out and deflect that.
Just talked to Sullivan today at shoot-around about continuing to improve her defending ability, whether it be on the outside or inside, as she has aspirations to play at the next level, which is really exciting to hear. As Sullivan brings in a rebound.
Offensively, she's not going to have any problem at all adjusting to the next level. It's everything that she's going to have to do on the defensive end.
Lau coming around the screen set by Sullivan. 5.5 to go. Cats looking to close the gap. Sullivan with ice in her veins. Sullivan now with 26 points. She's dropped 33 times this season, so don't be surprised if she gets to that 3-0 number here in Evanston. Wright taking on Walton, and a foul is called. Walton can't believe it.
Every time Chit-Chat Wright has made the decision to call her own number, good thing, like anything above like 50%, hey, that's great. But those days are gone. Like, this is a new generation of players that we're seeing now, Kylan.
Yeah, you think about how impressive it is that Sullivan, you mentioned, the only big on that top list, because she's scoring without hitting threes. She's only taken 1 3. She hasn't made one this season. I mean, she's making her money in the mid-range and to some degree under the basket. To me, that's even more impressive to be putting up 23 a game.
And to hear her tell it, she can shoot threes. She works on them. She shoots them in practice.
Stolke just got called for her 3rd foul, and the fouling really has been a big story here tonight as well. Northwestern with 22 fouls as a team. Iowa's done a better job. I know you pointed out their discipline generally. They have 13, but the Cats well above their season average as a group with multiple players with 3 to 4 fouls.
I really think the fouling has been the story of the game tonight.
Walton finds a lane to the basket, and she is fouled. Taylor Stremlow. That is Stremlow's 3rd.
Samaya Walton has been undeterred tonight. Like, it's not bothered her at all that she's the smallest player on the floor. Hasn't bothered her. She's gotten her shot blocked. She sees a seam, and she takes advantage of it. I have a lot of respect for that.
Samaya Walton, as I mentioned, a Chicago, Illinois native, attended Butler College Prep, was a top 50 to top 75 recruit according to various sites that rank prospects.
And there's going to be 2 of them there. 2 of them, 2
right.
Walton sisters next year on this Northwestern squad.
Yep, her younger sister Ziana is a top 20-26 recruit committed to Northwestern. Exciting to see those 2 on the floor together. Houston with a deep 2, off iron. Fight for the rebounds. Carter in control, up to Lau. Also important to point out after that last foul, both teams now in the bonus for the last 4 minutes. It's been hard to keep up with the fouling. It's felt like a whistle every second here, Shimmy. But now both teams in the bonus to close out this game. 3 to shoot. Cats gotta go. Sullivan with a rare miss.
A rare miss.
The thing is, like, those deep 2s she's getting more comfortable with too in terms of that range.
Absolutely.
Houston gets caught up. Deal. Oh, there's another freshman with some promise. What a move.
That was nice. She was a high-level scorer in high school, a highly sought-after recruit. I see why.
Deal was a 5-star prospect out of Modern Day High School out in Irvine, California, a school known to be dominant on the high school scene. But there's a player who's dominant here on the college scene, and it's Grace Sullivan, who is cooking tonight in Evanston.
Lately, they're off to a 3-1 start. Like that, there is no such thing as an off night in this conference.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Northwestern is another team, though, that you cannot sleep on. You look at how hard they're playing, how much they're pushing. A top 15 Iowa team tonight. This is a team that has potential, and Coach McEwen has talked about needing to be able to close out games. A lot of times, fourth quarters is where things can unravel after they've been really competitive for 3. 3 minutes to go, 7-point lead here for the Hawkeyes, so the Cats got to start to make moves here down this final stretch. Northwestern with 2 timeouts, Jen Jensen with 3. 7 on the shot clock now. Hayden loses the handle, but touched by Sullivan, so Hawkeyes ball. 3 on the shot clock, though, for Iowa. Got to get it in and get it off quick. Over the top to Hayden. Oh, beautifully done. Big basket for the Hawkeyes.
So much poise by the sophomore.
Hayden with a 20-piece here in Evanston tonight. Lau. Picked off. Stremlow. Gonna take her time. Working the half court. Good game management there. Hawkeyes not in a rush. 9-point lead. Stremlow trying to connect with Hayden. It's out of play. 19th turnover of the night for Iowa.
Ava Hayden just shows so much maturity and poise on this possession right here. She didn't get sped up. She didn't go out of bounds. She went straight up, found the angle off the glass.
Hayden 9 of 11 from the floor when you talk about efficiency. Doesn't get much better than that. Good ball movement here by the Wildcats. Flash's 3 goes out, and there's a foul on the fight for the rebounds. Sullivan called for the foul, which is her 4th.
And even though that was Grace's 4th foul, I don't mind that foul if I'm her coach, because she got it trying to get an offensive rebound, trying to create another possession for her team, who right now the clock is not Northwestern's friend. They need as many possessions as they can.
Reminder, both teams in the bonus, so Stolke is going to the free throw line. The other impressive team about Ava Hayden's stat line here tonight, Jimmy, is 20 points, but she's only played 17 minutes due to some of the foul trouble she's been in. So again, efficiency in terms of 9 of 11 in shooting, and then also in the minutes that she's on the floor. I'm sure Coach Jensen would have loved to see her on the floor more.
That's right.
Stolke hits the 2nd free throw. Double-digit lead here for 14th ranked Iowa. Thomas calling for someone to move. No one really coming to the basketball. Got to get rid of it. Does just in time. Walton now with 7 to shoot. Walton into the paint. Deep 3 from Harder, and it's pure! What a shot from Casey Harder! Timeout called by Joe McEwen. Cutting into Ohio State, all teams that I know you're really high on. Another turnover for the Hawkeyes, and Ava Hayden actually flew into some fans who are sitting courtside. Almost flipped over a chair. Luckily, she's okay, back on the floor. Turnover, rather, but trying to get a hand on it in terms of putting in effort defensively. Hawkeyes looking to close it out here. But still 20 turnovers on the night, quite a few here for Iowa. Nine to shoot, and Lau with another big 3. deja vu to last year's meeting between these two teams at Carver Hawkeye Arena. Lau hit a big three late to make it like a 4 or 5 point lead. Same story again this year, Shimmy.
And Jan Jensen is not taking any chances. She called a quick timeout. But this is just the sense of urgency that the Northwestern guards are playing with right now. And if they can continue to hit shots or look for their shots, now what that's going to do is it's going to open it back up for Grace Sullivan because she was covered. That's why Caroline Lau was so open on that shot, because the Iowa defense was doing an excellent job of sinking in on Sullivan and Thomas.
6-0 run for Northwestern in the last 17 seconds. Huge for this Wildcats team that's looking to end a 5-game losing streak to the Hawkeyes. But going back to last year, these two teams really went down to the wire in the final seconds. It was a 5-point lead, or a 5-point win rather, for Iowa, but this Northwestern team gave them everything they had. They had a steal late, a big three from Lau. Came down to the final few possessions. Same story here tonight, under a minute to play. 4-point lead for the Hawkeyes. Wright, fouled by Lau.
It's a good decision by Chit-Chat Wright to not pass the ball, to keep the ball in her hands.
Lau with 4 fouls. Both teams have been in the bonus here for quite some time in this fourth quarter. So Wright heads to the free throw line. Wright is an excellent free throw shooter. If you're going to foul someone, you don't want it to be her. 90% from the charity stripe on the season.
You mentioned how excellent she was in their game against Nebraska. She was 11 of 12 in that game. So yes, great decision to keep the ball in her hands.
6-point lead here now for the Hawkeyes. A little bit of full court pressure here from Iowa. Lau. 20-second difference between the game clock and shot clock. Lau had a look, too strong, hiding the rebound. And there's a whistle. Hayden heads to the free throw line.
And that's
called for her 4th foul.
Only Ava Hayden's 5th rebound of the night, which is below her average, but that is probably the most important rebound that she secured.
Iowa's had the edge on the glass in this one. It's 37-29 right now in terms of that rebounding battle. Peswick coming in, a 3-point shooter here for Northwestern, the sophomore guard. Had a big game earlier this season against Cleveland State where she hit 6 threes. Cats need a couple baskets here in a hurry. Hayden misses the 2nd free throw. Lau. Almost taken away there. Lau. Northwestern's got to get something off. Lau fires it. Bounces right out of play. Iowa basketball coach McEwen did not look happy with that last